Hi guys, I'm Asif Ali and welcome to CGHOW video. Today we will cover the colors in UE5 Niagara. So these are all type of things we can do with the colors. If I am missing something, you can comment below the video. Maybe in other video I will cover that. So we will cover what is initial color, what is direct color in that, how to random, how to use hue, how to use hue in emitter. That means every time the particle spawn with a different color hole. Then hue in update, color curves, color from mesh, color by position, by velocity and distance range, by size, by speed, by rotation. Hue on index execution ID, I'll show you how. And color by range area, multi-renderer color, light color, and color from particle attribute reader means you can take the color from other emitter. Okay, so we will cover all these. So let's say you have this Niagara and this is my FX color. Okay, and this is a fountain, so I'll just delete these things I don't need. And in the rate, I will use the grid. I want a spawn grid, and this is now I have a grid. I don't want on Z. And particle size, maybe I'll use uniform 10. I'll turn this off mass, and this we can use 50 by 50. And one more thing, the life direct to, and this is also good. So we have this grid and it has already a material and I can change the color. But what if you start your material from scratch? You create like I create M radial test. So if you have a material and you take a texture or a radial shape like this and you connect this in the emissive and opacity, and you have translucent material only two-sided, right? So you have this radial material and you can use it in particle, but can you change the color with this? No. So why? I'll show you. So I'll browse this and in my FX I'll use that. So I have this radial test and still it will show you the white particle. Let it compile. Okay, so it's showing you the white same as it before, but here we have the white, and if I use the red, nothing will change here. So if you want to use the colors in Niagara, one thing you should have always in your material, that is particle color. If you don't have your this node, these color, anything that I'm going to do will not work. Okay, so you need to use this and just connect it here. And if you want to use the alpha also, you can multiply it with the alpha and connect it here. Okay, and you can also multiply the color, this shape with the color. But in this case, because this shape is very flat, you can just directly connect the color. Okay, but in some cases, you can multiply it. But now you can just connect it here. Okay, save this. And now in my FX, particles are red and you can change the any color. Okay, now we know the material thing and now we will do all the things here. So in my notepad, initial color, direct color. So basically when you have a emitter, a default fountain or anything, in the initialized particle you have this color, that is your initial color and also a direct color, and we have the random range and hue. So that is this thing, random and hue. So we will cover all these four in this one here. So by default, you have the direct color. You can put the values here. You can see the red is 1, green and blue is 0. So you can make this 0 and make the green 1, or maybe 0.2, so it will make it darker. And if you have any color, this is the alpha. You can decrease it, so it's now transparent. And why it's working? Because in your material, you are multiplying this with alpha. If you don't use this node here, you directly connect this here. This alpha value, this a alpha value will not work. Okay, so these two things should have connected emissive or base color. This is for color, this is for alpha, right? So basically this direct color is just to change the color. You can double click or single, actually just the single click here and choose any color. Okay, and this is the value. If you increase the, it will just overpower and make a glowy particles. So you can just make it 1. So this is direct color. Okay, and then you can unset it, so it will just unset and make it white, and then you can use other modules, custom modules, to change the color. So next thing is random range. So it will make the use these two colors and put the random values on each particle. So now we have the black and white. You can use like red and maybe the green. So it is random, okay? And you can also play here if you want. If you want, like, you want red in both, but you want little variation, like some should be darker and some should be lighter. So these are all red, but some are darker. So this is what you can do in the random range. Then the next thing is, and one more thing here, the color channel mode is linked RGB. You can use the individual channels or use the RGBA. So it is like it's taking all the values together. Okay. So like if you use the individual channel, because we are just using the red and you have the green value here, see, it's also taking in between these two colors. If I make this one also, it's taking the between these two colors. Okay. So this is the random range. Then we have the random hue and saturation. It has lots of other parameters like for hue, saturation, value, and alpha. So all the values you can randomize, like you have the red color. The first thing is hue. If this is 0, these all will be red. And if you have some value here, like this is 0 and you make it 1, so it will make all the random colors, random particles. Actually, the random values of color with each particles with a random value. Okay, so hue goes from 0 to 1. So now red is from red all around this here. So this is the 0 value for a hue, and if you increase this value, see, this is rotating around. So this is the hue, but here we have like 360 value, but when you're using this here, it is 0 to 1, and we have all the colors. And you can also make it negative also, make it more random. Okay. Then you have the saturation. So what is saturation? When you turn this on, minimum and maximum saturation. What is the saturation? If I open this is the saturation. So if you make it 0, it will be black and white. And if you make it 1, it will be like the full saturated. So this first gradient is for saturation. If I'm moving it down, you can see it's becoming more desaturated, more white. Okay, so this thing also you can do here, randomize. So some will be less saturated, some more. So like you have 0.5 and 5. Some will be really saturated. Okay, so default value is 1 if you don't need the saturation. Then value range. What is value range? I just make it 1. This second gradient is value range. So the red is become more darker. In saturation, the color become more whiter. In this value range, the color become more darker. So if I make it down, red is becoming darker, and you can see this value is becoming lower. And you can increase it like 10, it will be more brighter. Okay, same thing you can do here. So you have like some particle darker but some really brighter. You can also make it like negative, so you can see the difference. There are some particles, because background is black, you cannot see that. Let me show you. And I'll just make it gray. So now you can see some are darker, some are really brighter because of these two values. Okay, and I'll just make the default value 1 and 1. Next thing is alpha. Like you have this alpha value. Okay, here also you can make these transparent, but you want random, so you can do that here. So some are almost 0, or some are 0, and in between 0 to 1. So these are value to change the hue, saturation value, and alpha in randomization. So we have covered these. Now hue in emitter. What is hue in emitter? How does it work? So I'll show you. So let's turn this off, and you have one more emitter fountain. Okay, and in the fountain you have obviously this fountain, and in the velocity I use this point velocity. So we have this like a fireworks. If I use the burst here and 100 particles, cool. You have this firework and it has this red color, right? And really bright. You have this red color, cool. And I put this in the viewport and we have this red color every time it's spawning. But in your effects, in your fireworks, you want every time it is spawned with a different color. So you know that you have a hue here, this hue, and if you are using the random values here, it's making each particle different color. But if you want that, that's okay, you can use that. But if you want each time when spawning, the whole particle system will have a different color. That's why I put here this name hue in emitter. That means when emitter spawn every time. So what you can do, first thing you can make it float. So you will have just a one value. Okay, and if you have like 0.1, you can see different color for all particles, 0.5 different color. Okay, but if you still randomize it here, it will again, if you use the uniform random, it will make the each particle random color. That I don't want. So here what you can do, in the emitter spawn, I will create a new float and you can call it like hue, and in here you can connect this value with the emitter hue. And now this value will control it. And if you randomize this value from 0 to 1, every time it will spawn with a different color. Oh, I think need to be put here in emitter update. So now here, every time, now it's green, now it's blue, and you can duplicate it by pressing Alt and drag. And see, these two emitter have different color every time they are spawning. Sometimes they have similar color, but that's a random value. Okay, so each time when you duplicate it, it will show you the different color every time. Okay, so this is very useful when you are creating like a fireworks or anything. So this is done. Now hue in update, how does it work? So like you have this thing, or maybe like this fountain, this grid, and in here in initialize, I just use the direct color, which is red. And in here in the particle update, you take the color and then you make it hue shift linear color. Now you can change the color here and you can see is updating that uh, every time for every frame. And you can also uh, desaturate or make it more saturated, or maybe you can increase the value or decrease the value. So you can use that hue shift in the update. Okay, you can also drag it here, then it will work on initial thing. Okay, so this is how you can use that hue shift. Color curve. So what is color curve? So like if I create a one more emitter, so we have this fountain again, and it has the white color, and I can make it red. What if you want the color over life? That means when the particle dying, they become green or maybe other color. So here we have a color curve, and how to use that? You can use the color update, this color in the particle update. And when you use this, it will override this initial color. Although you have the red here, but it's showing you the white because this is overriding that. So now this initial color doesn't matter. So if you have this, and also you don't need to take the scale color, we will cover that later. So you have this and you can change the color. You can do the same thing here. You can use any color, but still it's not changing our life. So what you can do, you can use the curve here. Now you will have a gradient and you have these swatches. You have two for the birth and for the death. So let's say in the birth you have the color red, and see when they are dying they becoming white, but you can change it here, maybe green. Cool. And similarly, we have the alpha. So when they are dying, they are fading also because this is black. Okay, so you can make it 1. Now they will not fade. Okay, and let me just delete this and actually take the velocity and 100. I don't need gravity. So these particles all going up and you can see that gradient like this. You can add as many switches as you want and it will work the same. See, so these color will reflect here. Same the alpha. If you make this alpha 0, it will fade. And if you open this drop down menu, you have the color. Like you have these swatches, you want to bright all these color, you can increase this value or maybe you can decrease this value. And if you increase or decrease a single channel, like you have this one and you just increase the red, only the red will more brighter, not other swatches. And if you make it 0, only the red will go down, like if you have 0.1. And then this is the alpha. This is the whole multiplier. So it is not for the first axis or second, it is the whole. If you make it like 0.1, overall particle will go down. If you make it like 5, overall go up. But still 5 multiplies 0, that means 0. So at the end it will still fade. Okay. So this is the color curve. So this is done. Then color from the mesh. But before that, I left that one thing, that is color scale. What is that? So like I delete this and I have an initial color red. So you can also fade it over live using a curve, not here, but here. You can take the scale color and now you have this RGB and alpha. Similarly, like you have this color update here and it has this scale for alpha and color. So this scale color is linked with the initial color. So like you want to fade it over live. So in the alpha, you can put a curve and just use this curve. So it will just fade down. Okay. And similarly, if you want to fade the color, like you want to make it darker at the end, you can use the curve for 3 vector, but you can make this float also and then use a curve. And if you use this curve, see this color will become more darker. So like I make it like at 0.5. So because this material is additive, darker particle doesn't exist. It's just making that uh, disappear. But if you use this material which I have, that is translucent, and I browse this and I use it here in this one, now you can see because of this curve, these particles becoming darker at the end. And you can also edit single channels by using this curve. Now you have these 3, but because we have just the red color, you can use 3 color. And now here you can tweak between each color. So like I want my red color to go down, but I want my green channel still go down. So now we have the red and blue that makes purple color. Okay, so scale color is done. Now this is color from the mesh, how to use that. So let's say you don't have this and I don't have velocity. I have just the sphere. I delete that. First, we need to create a scratch module to emit particle from mesh, and you can just check my other tutorial for that, but I'll do that quickly. So I'll just make a scratch pad and just take a static mesh, and then we need a triangle from that, and then we need random triangles. Connect this here and this here, and then position. So this will like emit particle on a static mesh. And then we need color. I'll show you how. And this thing is like we need to randomize the triangles. So we need to know how much triangles we have in our static mesh. So I'll make this integer here, integer, and this is number of tries, and just connect this here. So this will just spawn the particle on a static mesh. So like here we have any static mesh like this cube. Okay, we have this. And if I open this cube, double click, it has like 12 triangles. So here you can change this value. You can see particles are shifting. But if you randomize this like from 0 to 11, particle will spawn on all of the mesh faces. Okay, but in this mesh it has very few. You can also increase it more than that, so it will spawn like that everywhere. Okay, so you can randomize that, but still the particles are white. Okay, so like you have this mesh, and if you apply a material on that, like let me do that. Let me create a material, and let me take a texture like this gradient. Okay, and I just connect it on the emissive, and on cube this is how it looks. Oh, I need to take this. This is how it looks. So I'll just save it. Okay, and I'll browse this, and on my cube I just apply, and to check, because the UVs are different, this is how it looks on that mesh. So every mesh will have a different UVs, and according to UVs your texture will reflect. So I'll just save it, and in my particles I just want the particle emit from the same color. Okay, so how you can do that? You need to uh, go to your module, and from this static mesh search the UV and use the same random triangles, and then you need to set it to the dynamic parameter, and also it's using the UV 0, and in your mesh you have two UVs. First is this and second is this one. So you can see this is the different UVs. So you need to be careful which UVs you are using. In this case I'm using the 0. Okay, so we have this, and just save this. And next thing what you have to do in this material, take the dynamic parameter and use the make float. Why we are using make float? Because every texture need UVs, and UVs are 2D vector X and Y. So we are using that 2D vector and connecting it here. Okay. Now it will look different, but if you will apply it in the particles, it will emit the same color like on the mesh. So I will browse this, and in here I will use that material. Let it compile. Once it will compile, it will be the same gradient color like we had. So I'll just pause this video. So now you can see particles have the same colors. Okay, so looks cool. You can also use the curl, noise, or any forces here and make the size maybe 2 and 2 and increase the spawn rate. You can make this GPU and use lots of particles like cool thing. And I will animate this curve now. So this is how you can use, and you can use any texture in your table, and that will reflect. So that's clear. So now we need to check how to use color by position, velocity, and all these things. So let's say you have a emitter and you have this fountain, and we have this color, or maybe you have this first emitter. So these all are red, and obviously the center point is here. So I want to make all the particles on the right side should be different color, and all the left side should be different color. So what you can do, although there can be lots of different ways to do that, but what you can do is, like you have this red color, and if I just use a random range here, we have two colors like red and the green. Okay, and what you can do, you can reset this and take the color here in the update, and then you can use the blur, and I can do the same thing in initial also, but I'm doing an update. So we have these two colors and changing this value, making shifting these two colors. Okay, so you can like make a dynamic input here, and we can take the particle position, and we can break this. So now we have X, Y, and Z. So this axis is Y. You can see this here. Okay. So what I want like normalize it and just connect it here. Oh, it's showing the error, and I need a Y axis. So if it's showing the error, what you can do, you can like multiply it with a float because the values of particle is more than one. So you can use this and then connect it here. So now this multiplier is 0, but if you make it like 0.1, you can see all the particles in the positive direction will have a different color and on the negative will have different color. So you can do that. Okay. And you can also, oops, you can also clamp this. If these are like bright enough, you can clamp and make the minimum and maximum value. Okay. And similarly, you can do for X. So if I use the X here and hit apply, so this is how you can use that. And you can also shift this if you want. So on the X, I can add a value and I'll make it float, connect it here. And this is my offset. Hit apply. And now with this offset, you can see I can offset this. Okay. And similarly, you can use it for lots of things, but now you got the idea. Okay. So this is how you can use the for the position. So if you want to use for the velocity, what you can do, like you have a new emitter fountain, and let's make some cool effects. So I have this GPU on here, and let's say you have lots of particles, maybe 10,000. And in the velocity, I don't have anything. And in the sphere, I want to use just the surface. I don't want gravity. In the sphere, maybe size 50 or 100. And then I want to use the curl noise, maybe 200, 20 or 10. And then I want to animate it. So this is like cool curl noise effect we have. And I want when the particles moving according to the velocity, they should be different color. Okay. So we have also drag. So what you can do the same thing. You can take the color and you can blur between these two colors. So like you have the red and we have the green, and then you can shift the color from here. So what I'll do, I'll use the first I'll use the multiplier to control the value, then vector length, and then velocity. So I'll use the velocity, vector length, and this is the multiplier that I can reduce. See, all the particles which have the higher velocity, they are green. All the particles which have the lower the velocity, they are red. Okay. And if you still want to like edit it more like perfectly, what you can do, and what you can do is I'll copy this and use the power. It's like the material you added with lots of things, and And let me use a clamp also. So these power values are going really above the 0, 1. See, this is how you can like add, but this is not the perfect thing. Let me do that. So I need the clamp first, then I will use actually power, then I will use the multiplier, and then below vector length, and then velocity. Now, first I have a power, then I have a multiplier. Like I'll use 0.01. To check it more properly, you can add the random drag. So some particle will have like velocity, some will not have. So now in the color, and I'll delete this scale color. In the color, you can use this clamp multiplier, then velocity, and have like 0.01. Now you can see all the particles going like up, they are green, and which don't have much velocity, they are red. These type of thing you need to like add the proper values here, so you can check that. So basically, what you can also do one thing, like if you have the velocity, what I'm doing, velocity on like one axis, like on Z, and there's particle going like red up. And in the drag, I don't have this random. Instead of this, I have a curve. And the drag is working over life, so maybe 20. And I have less curve noise, maybe that. Basically, particle going up and then stopping. So I just made a mistake. And you can see the particle which have velocity are green, which don't have velocity much. They are turning red. And you can just make it like float, thing, float. It's already flowed actually. And vector length, plot, multiply with velocity, uh, and actually vector length, then you can use multiply and velocity, and then you can make it float, maybe 0.001. See, 0.01. You can see the difference now, right? You can make it a curve now also if you want. So this is how you can do that. So that's it. The next thing is we have done this size, speed, rotation, and this thing. First we will cover this, and I'll put this one here after this. So after velocity, size, speed, and speed is also like velocity, but size and rotation. So like size, so we have this first grid. I'll just delete that thing. And let's say you have the random size like 1 and 20 or 10. Okay. So, and you have this color here. And again, you have the lerp. And in the lerp, what I'll do, I'll actually normalize, uh, use the normalized float, and then calculate the particle radius. And depending on that, you can see the both color divided. It's like you have the red and the green. And you can also use like maximum bounds. Okay. can see the difference now. All the smaller particle becoming red and all the bigger particle, because you need to, like, you have the random maximum size stand, you need to increase this minimum maximum thing, and then we can use these thing also. So you can see that difference. And if you want to make it more contrast, so you can also use the power here before that, and then paste it. So with the power value, you can like make it more like contrast like this. See? So all the smaller particles are red and you can like brighten it up. So you can see depending on the size we have this whole thing. Then next thing is the rotation. So for the rotation, I'll use like different thing. You can use like if I have an arrow like this one. Okay. So in the grid, let it compile. And now you can see the random rotation, but here in the rotation, I'll just set it to unset. So it will have all the same rotation. And what you can do, you can use just this angle and then use the random thing like this. So like 0 and 1. Between 0 and 1, we have the random values. Okay. So what I need, I just instead of this, I'll actually take the random A or B. So we will have just two values. Either this will be 0 or maybe 0.25. So some are like facing up, some are facing right. So, and the size should be like same size. So now we can use here something else. So like we have this power, normalized power, but instead of that calculate radius, what I'll do, I'll use the size of, sorry, the rotation, uh, particle sprite rotation. So check if, yeah, particle sprite rotation. And see, let's make this one. And I'll use the clamp and paste it. So now you can see all the particles facing right are green and all the particles facing up are red. So you can also use this thing. You need to just make a mask. So for each value and just put the LURP and put the colors or anything. It's not just about the color. You can do anything with the particles if you have those masks. So the by distance range. So what is that? So like you have this and I just unset this. So you have this alpha and this is going from 0 to 1. So what you can use a range normalized distance, and then initial the start position is 0 and end position I want the particle position. So depending on that, if you have a radius, you will divide those two color. Okay, and you can also offset this by moving this, okay, on X and Y. So that's what you can do. Next thing is hue by on index. What is that? So let's turn this off. You have this grid, and what you can do, just turn this off, this unset. So you have like this red color and you have this hue. So what you can do, like you can randomize the particle color, but instead of this, you can make it float and then multiply it with the execution index. So particle will change color, but in a gradient, because with the hue value will be different, slightly up for each next particle. This is how you can do that. And with multiply, you can increase or decrease this gradient. Whole thing. Then color by range area. It is similar like we just used that. So what you need to do, I'll just unset this and also this unset. So like you have this, and what you can do is you have to take the mask here, region mask, and it has lots of shapes like sphere, and it has a radius here of a sphere, and then it gives you an output that is, if you will see here what it writes, it gives you an output this, okay, a region mask. So like in this color you have this alpha, and if you search the mask here, this region mask, and depending on that you will see the two colors, like make this one. And now in this region mask you can increase or decrease the radius. Then you have the fall off, you want to make it sharp, and you have these offsets, okay, you can move it. And then instead of sphere you can use the cube box, and you have the box size, and then you have the slab and planar. Like you have this planar, so if you have the particles on this axis also, now you can see all the particles below the planar are different color, and above the planar have different color. So you can use this thing also. So this is how you can do that. And then the next thing we have multi-render color. What is that? Basically, like you have this emitter of this one. You have this fountain, okay? And I'm previewing this fountain, and you have this color. Let's say you have the size 10 and 10, okay? And these are red color, okay? And I want a glow around these particles, but that should be green color. So how do you do that? So one thing you can do is you can take the multi-renderer. I will take again the sprite, and see we have the red particle, then we have a sprite which don't have any material. So if I take a radial here also, you can copy paste that same material, copy and paste. Now the both color are red color, okay, but I want that the second render different color. So what you can do, when you take a render, it has some bindings here for each things like color, location, velocity, size, lots of other things, okay. So like these two are linked with the same thing, color. So I want my second render should be, if I rename this, oops, if I rename this, like this is like, it should be green, okay, and this should be like red, okay. So in the green one I want to take the different color and different size also, because if size will be same, they will overlap. So what you have to do, you have to take a new existing parameter, and you can take the linear color here, and you can rename it anything, but in my case I am just renaming it green because this is for green, okay. And you can put any color, like I'm taking the green, and now in this green one if I use this green, that will turn green, and now both are overlapping each other. So we can similarly change the size also. So if I take here like uh, vector 2D, because sprite size is 2D vector, and this is my green size, okay. And in the green renderer I'll go to the size, and this is connected with sprite size. I will use the green size, and now that is 0, and I can make it like 5 and 5, or maybe 2 and 2. So you can see we have a core green, then we have red. And so this is how you can use multiple render, and you can give the different color or anything. So this is what it is. Then light color, and then we have this particle attribute color. So light color. So let's say I delete this and this also, and these are the red particles, right? And if I take a new label like this, I make it little darker, and I put this emitter here, okay. So these don't have light, and you can connect here a light render. And if you'll see now, still we cannot see the light because we have to bright our colors. So let's say if I make this red like 1000, now they are very bright, and you can see also we have the light here, or maybe not, or you can increase it even more, okay. and I will also increase the radius of light. Okay, so now we have this light, but see my particles very bright. Although they are taking the light taking the color from that, but the issue is I don't want my particle to be bright, but I want my light to be colored. So what I can do, there can be two things. First thing, I can reduce my color back to 1 and I put the color value in my light. So now you can see, and let's make this radius 1. This is the first thing that you can do. And the second thing what you can do, you can create, because in the light, this is also binding with the color of particle. So you can create your own color like we did in multiple render. And if I take the linear color, you can call it anything like a light color. Okay. And then in the light render, you can use that light color. You can reset the settings here. And then in here, you can increase, like if I increase the green only, light will have the green color. So these are the two things you can use for the light color. And the last is particle attribute reader and how this work. So let's say you have this thing. Okay, we have this arrow. And what I want is these should take the color from a particle every time. So let's create one more emitter here, fountain. And I'll rename this fountain source. Okay, and I'll isolate these two. So I have this source. Okay, and let's decrease the particle rate to 1. Okay, and what I want, and this color is red, and then we have the hue and saturation. So every time this particle will be different color, and let's make the size a little bigger, maybe 20. So it will be like you can see that. So every time this is different color, and I want to take the color from this grid. So what you can do here, you need to make a scratch pad and then take the reader, particle attribute reader, and type here the linear color by index, and can type the execution index here, connect it here, type here color, and then connect it to the color of my particles of not position color. Hit apply, and you need to type the name here, source. So it doesn't seem to take color. I'll delete that, and also a vision mask. Let me check. It should take the color. Like I see not. Okay, let me check this. I'm seeing something is happening here, but it's weird. Okay, so instead of spawn rate, if I take just the first one and the life is 2, only one particle changing color, not the whole. This should actually work. This is weird. Let me check. Okay, so because I have just one particle and that ID is 0, so I just unconnected this one and it's now working. So every time my particle is spawning and is these grid will taking color from that. Okay, so that's the thing. So these are all are covered. If you have anything that I missed, you can just comment below the video. I will cover that definitely. If you are in doubt, please let me know. Thanks for watching. Keep learning. Bye bye.